All right, everybody, welcome into the Andrew Hawkins episode of the Barking Brown Show, episode 16. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13. You can hit the show up itself at the Barking Brown Show at gmail.com. I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, the man that doesn't miss, Nick Carnes at Carnesies817. Nick, how we doing tonight?
Good. You know what? So I just put a tweet out before the show, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But of course, the NFL targets Jarvis Landry for his.
I haven't seen it.
It's gross, because we can just ignore. We can call illegal blindside blocks on Jarvis, but we can't accurately. I know I just said that really weirdly, but all I know is that they don't officiate Jarvis correctly anyway. So I guess why not target him for taunting?
Oh, his taunting stuff it's another thing. Guys, we got a couple quick two quick announcements we want to do real quick, and then we're going to get over to our show to help us preview the Cincinnati Bengals. We previewed the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. We're going to spend 20 minutes with a really great guest here to talk about the Bengals, and we'll get into all things Browns. First and foremost, thank everybody. I want to thank absolutely everyone. The last episode got up to 1,500 views. It's sitting in the 70s on the podcast listen. It's up into the 80s now on the YouTube listens last week. I never thought one person, let alone 50 people, whatever, give a damn about what I had to say about football. And the overwhelming support has just been exponentially higher than I could have ever imagined. We're eternally grateful for all of you guys. We have an announcement. It includes the fact that there will be a second episode later this week with a special guest. Maybe we'll announce it at the end of the show. Give you a reason to hang around.
Yeah.
So we have launched our Patreon. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/barkingbrownsshow. We are excited to try to bring more content to you guys, excited for a way to get some support and to make our content better. With the Patreon, it's $5 a month. It's just one tier. You will get exclusive early access to all special episodes. You'll get it 2 days earlier than the YouTube will. We are starting next week going to have a weekly newsletter, including some articles with some, I'll write some articles. Nick's going to put together a lot of the quotes that he loves to put together, the quotes from the pressers, going to put them all in nice one place, maybe some Browns trivia, some stuff like that. You'll get access.
Fun stats for you.
Oh, yeah, the fun stuff. Only the fun stuff. Get access to our private Discord. We're going to start a group chat on Discord. I think we're going to go in Discord. I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go, but we're going to start a private group chat, as well as exclusive giveaways, merch giveaways, and other giveaways that will be exclusive to Patreon members. I will tweet it out at the end of the show.
And so you got to think, especially as we start here, that the Patreon is going to be small. So if you are one of the patrons, is it patrons? Sure. If you have a high likelihood of winning said merch giveaways.
Yeah. And shout outs and inappropriate emails from me at 2 a.m. telling you how much I love you. All right. I want to take a second to address mental health. I know this is a football show. People are going to turn me off for this. I'm just going to talk to it for real quick. There is a situation going on with Takk McKinley, and we can't say for sure, but I know that there's been mental health things there before, and that is what some people are suggesting, that it is he doesn't have his head right. The amount of nasty things I saw I blocked so many people for the things I saw them say about Takk McKinley. You have no idea what that man's going through. Oh, you make millions of dollars to play a game. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. If the guy's mentals aren't right, he needs to take care of himself first and foremost. I battled mental health for years and years and years, and you have no reason to be sad just shows how ignorant you are. Mental health is a true issue. If you in any way make any kind of jokes about mental health and about depression, block me, mute me, and go get fucked. That's what I think about that.
That's a strong statement right there. I've been, and Jacob, I asked
already.
I asked you what was going on. I guess the whole Takk announcement. So
You,
I know
it was while you were at the wedding this weekend.
Yeah. So, but just hoping he gets right and is back, because I would really, it was really cool to see him on Building the Browns. Like he was doing that circle race drill with Miles, and just like, fun little things like that. Ooh, hello, more for you, Cleveland.
Yes.
We are Team Orange over here.
Ed in Columbus loves the orange jersey.
Oh, Ed, sorry. Yeah.
Loves the orange jersey. Nick is wearing, for those podcast listeners, he is wearing the all orange, was briefly available.
You know what? I had to put my money where my mouth is, right? If they're going to give me orange, I'm buying orange.
Every opportunity.
Yeah. So here we are.
All right, guys. We are going to get over to our guests now. Those are our announcements. I will tweet out the Patreon at the end of the show. And potentially at the end of the show, I'll announce our special guest for our preseason preview episode that will come out later this week. So if you are a member of Bengals Twitter, I do not believe this man needs any kind of introduction. He is a great follow. He's apparently Deadpool on the side, which I love. Fantastic. Seriously, who doesn't love Deadpool? Really? Like, if you do, don't listen to my show. That's weird. All right. And but we're going to bring him in right now. We're going to talk the Bengals with our good friend Vance Meek. Vance, how we doing tonight?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
It's great. It's great. There is football on the television this weekend.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, Vance, I've been, obviously I'm a Browns fan, but I have been a long time follower of yours, my friend. And, even like I've always appreciated your content. So, I would expect the same thing. If you don't follow Vance, I think you're missing out, because he puts out a lot of great content. And I've really enjoyed, this is just the second part of our division preview here. And it's nice to get a perspective from outside of our little Cleveland bubble. So I'm really excited to talk tonight.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate the kind words. It's always nice to hear from followers. Everybody likes to be complimented, of course. So
yeah,
but I appreciate it.
So I told you this story, Vance. I'm from Athens. I live in the area. I saw Joe Burrow in high school. I rooted for him. I'm an Ohio State guy, so when he went to Ohio State, all that stuff, it was always great. And I told you that my little sibling's principal is his mother, and she helped with my surprise return from Afghanistan,
right?
Which is a really cool story. So that's where we're going to start, man. We're going to start with Joe Burrow. This stuff has come out, and I haven't seen everything that you put, but I saw that you had responded to it. There's this situation with Joe Burrow's headspace, I guess is the best way to describe it. And listen, I've had minor knee injuries, and I know that I don't have these enormous freak athletes coming at my knees less than a year after it I could ever imagine to be. What do you think about, is it overblown? Is it real? Will he be fine? Where do you stand on this reported? And I mean, he's kind of talked about it a little bit, but where do you feel, how do you stand on this situation?
There's a lot of points of interest here in this particular story with Burrow. First of all, it's important to note that he is coming back from obviously a very serious injury. He tore multiple ligaments. There was a lot of damage done to his knee, and it's only been, I think, 8 months. Like, he is coming back very quickly, ahead of what a lot of people have in the past come back from this severe of an injury. So, of course, there are going to be lingering issues, and people should expect that. The question isn't really for me whether he'll come back. It's how quickly can he get over the mental hurdles, because he's got to start being used to, as you said, 300-pound guys diving at his legs, flying by him. Like, there's a lot that goes with that. I can't imagine myself having to suffer some kind of major injury, knee, chest, head, whatever, and then not being somewhat hesitant about putting myself back in that same situation again that I suffered the injury in the first place. So that's one thing. The second thing is the trust in his offensive lineman, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this at some point. But part of getting over the mental hurdles with the injury is going to be learning to completely put all of his faith in the five guys standing in front of him, and that's not easy to do as well. And you've got rookies. You got some guys that weren't very good, including one that was directly responsible last year. So there's a lot that goes into that. As far as myself being in a panic mode or anything, no, because there's still a month or more. There's still preseason, even though I don't know that he'll play a lot in the preseason. So I'm not going to go overboard yet and say I'm very worried. But it is fair to at least have that knowledge in your head that he's going to take some time, and he might not be 100% when the season does start.
Yeah, 8 months. Like, I'm just saying, 8 months after I blew out my like at most, MC weighs in, says that he thinks it's overblown. Of course, he's going to be cautious. I think, like, I remember when Carson Palmer first came back from his knee injury, there was a little bit of hesitation, but obviously he went on to have some success, plenty of success after his knee injury. So
yeah, it's not a situation where I don't think Bengals fans should be concerned. Like, listen, Joe Burrow, by all accounts, by everything that we know about him, is as detached as you're going to find, especially at the quarterback position. Like, he seems to be overall the type of person that is just not going to allow this injury to set him back long term anyway.
We were talking about this a little, because when the Joe Burrow stuff comes out, we've got a little chat, and we were talking about that, and I was saying, it's not like Baker Mayfield took as many hits or was seriously injured like Burrow was, but I think you still could see some of the lingering effects of him losing trust in his offensive line into last year, to where I would say, and obviously the Bengals game, no knocks here. It is like that landmark game where suddenly Baker started to look good. But I would argue up until then, he definitely still had happy feet, and he was still settling in. So even it's very telling to me, even for a guy who wasn't, hit as much as Joe, how long it took him to really settle back in. So for Joe to be out there, and I was watching NFL Live the other day, and they were showing Bengals practice, and it looks like he's running around and doing all that stuff, and so I think for him to already be looking the way he does just 8 months off of that is pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it's really pretty amazing because, like I said, his injury was not just a torn ACL; his knee was shredded. Like, if you even see the replay of the injury, which is really hard to watch, like, his knee just bent at an angle that knees aren't supposed to bend. So it was ugly, and to be back scrambling up the middle for yardage and looking healthy in the process is pretty amazing. And I do remember, to your point, Baker going into that game with the Bengals last year, one of the things that the Bengals fans were at least talking about was that, and the media to a degree, was that Baker hadn't really played very well so far up to that point, and that game kind of got him on track. So good for him. But it's not an easy thing to. Like I said, I can't imagine doing it. I wouldn't want to have my knee just blown apart and then be back on less than a year later, be running around again with these guys that could easily shred it again.
I remember when it first happened, because of course it was all the talk around here. He's a local kid, and I remember everybody was saying 12 to 15 months. Like, I remember the initial diagnosis is he's missing some of 2021.
That was the expectation, I think, for most people, was that he would at least miss the first 3 or 4 weeks at best, because you figure about it, at minimum around 9 to 12 months. So there was a general expectation he would miss at least some regular season action.
Okay, I'm going to incorporate Ed's question over here in the comments. Kind of take this. It's not a planned question, so sorry. He's talking in relation to Jamar Chase. There's been a lot of conversation, and we'll get to your opinion between Jamar and the tackle. We'll I know it's the age-old question every Bengals fan has to answer, I think. But so far, how are you feeling about the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow connection? What's it looking like in camp early on?
There are some reports out that Chase hasn't been able to separate like maybe people expected him to, especially based on his 40 time, because he did run a really fast 40. I don't put a whole lot of worry into that right now. We're talking about a 20-year-old kid that hasn't played since the end of 2000 or the very beginning of 2020 in the championship game.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's. I think it's a little too early to worry about his speed, his route running, and things like that. That kind of thing's going to come. His connection with Burrow seems, by all accounts, if you listen to both of them talk, they seem to be getting along well, of course, but they seem to be in a mode that they think they're going to succeed anyway. Like they have the feeling that we're going to put it together. We're going to be 2019 Burrow to Chase all over again. So I think that the positivity surrounding them is fair, and I think it's a little early to jump the gun worrying about his speed.
It's August 10th.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask because on the surface level, everyone knocks the Bengals outside of them for passing on Penei Sewell. And they, you know what, I think the thing that largely goes unignored or largely goes ignored is that the Bengals still used a top 50 pick on alignment. Mm-hmm. And so I was really curious to know where you come out on that. Are you satisfied with the fact that they used their second round pick on a tackle, or would you have preferred they go with the Penei Sewell route?
I would have been okay either way, of course, because they're both elite talents. They were both in my preseason top 5, but they did sign a tackle, so they don't see tackle as a need other than maybe depth, which they bears out since they did draft at least one tackle and maybe two if you consider Jackson Carman to be a tackle. So they think that their tackles are good, especially left tackle. So that minimizes in their minds the need to sign another or draft another left tackle, or at least future left tackle. They don't think they need one. The other thing to remember with this draft class is that the tackle depth was really good.
It was.
So if you're looking for a top receiver, somebody who can play outside, not a slot guy, because this draft was loaded with slot guys, there wasn't as much depth at outside receiver, or at least top-end outside receivers. So under that circumstance, I would have rather, if it had been me, I would have probably taken Kyle Pitts, to be honest. But if it had been me and my choices were Chase or Sewell, I would have also gone Chase and then picked one of the tackles. Now, if you want to criticize the Bengals, and people do, it's not as much that they should have picked Sewell over Chase. It's that they traded back in the second round and then picked a tackle that may not be a tackle at the next level and was projected by many to be, including myself, as a day 3 tackle. Obviously, he may be better at guard, but the tape that I had him as a 5th, I think, rounder at tackle. Wow. So it was considered by many to be a reach. So if you want to criticize them, that's fair for not passing on some of the tackles that were available when they originally were supposed to pick in round 2, and instead trading back and taking a lower tier, or at least perceived lower tier tackle.
I think, to me, I mean, honestly, I see what you're saying about Jonah Williams. I'm going to be honest with you. I looked up some of Jonah Williams' tape, and I looked up some of Jonah Williams' grade. It was a lot better than than what I as an outsider perceived it to be. I mean, I think PFF had him at a 70, like a 71, maybe something like that. Right. Yeah, which, like, I like PFF a lot. It's not the gospel, but I do like it as my starting point as research. And that was far higher than I as an outsider would have believed it to be. Now, granted, most of the time I see Jonah Williams, he's playing Myles Garrett, and there's a ton of people that do not do well against Myles Garrett. Jedrick Wills is getting his ass kicked in camp right now. So that is it. And I'm not worried about Jedrick Wills, because for that sense, I think I'm with you. I think that when it was one thing that you took Jamar Chase, because you cannot argue his talent. I don't think you can. And if you are, you're just being a hater. But I think I had my biggest issue was when they traded back. Hey, there were some tackles that I liked there. And I didn't do Yeah. I didn't do a ton of tackle stuff because the Browns line was good, and I wasn't doing a ton of it. Just I was doing more Brown-centric stuff. But there was tackles I liked there, and you traded back. And like you said, you kind of took a guy that I kind of think is a guard, and I actually don't really hate the Bengals guards. Like, I'm not really that.
They have more depth at guard than they do at tackle. I think that's the biggest issue with their line is if Jonah Williams and the knock on Williams, if you want to have one for Williams as far as the play goes, it's that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah. He had I believe a shoulder injury last year, or maybe it was a chest injury. But anyway, he missed a lot of the season last year, and he also missed a lot of the season his rookie year. So he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And then Riley Reef is an older player. You never can tell. And outside of those two, it gets really thin immediately. Like then you're talking about playing the rookie or either of the rookies at tackle or Fred Johnson, who was not very good when he played last year. And Hakeem Adeniji is hurt, so he won't be available, and who actually did play fairly well last year in limited play. So the depth at tackle is pretty thin. They really need to stay healthy at guard. It's maybe not as good. Their starters may not be as good as what you would judge Reef and Williams to be, but they have a little more depth inside than they do outside. If somebody gets hurt, it's not as they're kind of more on a similar level. You don't lose a lot.
It's not the end of the world.
Something I saw that was really interesting is that Joe Burrow set the rookie record for pass attempts a game. And I just didn't know that. And so obviously the Bengals were throwing like crazy his rookie year. And you've got a great running back there with Joe Mixon. Do you think with the improved offensive line that they're going to go for a more balanced attack? Like, will they be able to run the ball more effectively?
Well, that's the hope. Obviously, you don't want your quarterback. You're not going to generally, unless you're working with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to have long-term success throwing the ball 60, 70 times in a ball game. That's just not a good thing at all. Last year, they had injuries. Joe Mixon was hurt last year as well, and they didn't really trust the run game. The biggest offseason acquisition, and I believe the Bengals will probably tell you this, was the change in offensive line coach from last year to this year. They should have a more run-oriented game this year in general, just because that's going to be a philosophy that they're going to have. But they're going to trust the line more, I think, with the scheme, which was not good, let's just say, last year. A lot of the runs didn't really make sense. The protections didn't make sense. Like, it was the offensive line was a mess, and coaching is largely blamed, at least by fans, for that.
I've heard a lot of national guys and some Browns guys that very much liked that change, that offensive line coaching change.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The former coach was not well perceived, and he's not been good. And I don't have the numbers now in front of me, but I've seen it posted by people before. Yeah, that the places that he has coached, their offensive line has performed bottom of the league every year that he was there. Like, he's never coached a good offensive line ever.
All right, so we're running up against time, but I want to get a couple more questions in here for you. First question, Zach Taylor. Where do you stand on Zach Taylor as a coach overall?
I am completely unsold on Zach Taylor. I think he has a good offensive mind, and I think he could probably be a very good offensive coordinator, but I'm not sure that with all the power that things are at least he's not performing up to my expectations thus far. I know you can look at his record and it's pretty terrible, but a lot of the decisions, they would randomly. The Colts game last year is the one I usually use. Like, they were up big, and then he completely just shut the offense down and said, "We're not going to try to score anymore," and they lost. And there's a lot of that kind of thing under him where he inexplicably takes his foot off the gas.
Do you think it being Mike Brown, I've always said this, like, as an outsider, Mike Brown is what. Do you think Mike Brown would ever fire Zach Taylor, or just let his contract run out?
Well, you know what? Nowadays, it's really interesting time to be a Bengals fan, because Mike Brown is stepping back more and more, and he will tell you. And I think he actually did an interview recently where he said that as far as like the Ring of Honor particularly goes, they're starting a Ring of Honor this year finally, after fans have been demanding it forever. But his granddaughter, Elizabeth Blackburn, is behind most of that. She is maybe not forcing, but she is a strong personality, and he admitted that it was basically her idea, and she finally ran him down and talked him into it. So there are some maybe glimmers of hope if you are a non-Mike Brown fan in Cincinnati.
I asked, we talked to Pittsburgh. We talked to a couple guys from Pittsburgh last week, and so I asked them this question, and I would love to have your perspective on it. If you had to say how you thought the AFC North was going to play out this year, what would your prediction be?
I'm going to predict and have on a separate podcast that I was on recently.
Oh,
the Browns to win the division. I think they're going to be the best team in the division. I think they're clearly the most talented. You could maybe argue quarterback because Lamar brings such another dimension to that offense. And then their defense is well coached, even if it's not maybe as talented as Cleveland. But I think Cleveland is probably the best team in the division. I think Baltimore is also a playoff team, partly because of Lamar and the coaching staff. We all know John Harbaugh knows what he's doing. The bottom of the division, I think, is going to be Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I would give the nod to Pittsburgh just because they are also well coached and they never seem to be bad, even when they don't really have talent. I do think they have some problems. A lot of people talk about the Bengals' offensive line and picking Chase over Sewell, but the Steelers also have 5 new starters and picked a running back one instead of an offensive lineman. So
we've torn that apart. Don't worry.
But I think they probably still finish ahead of Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's still a year away. They got Burrow coming back from the injury.
Sure.
And the offensive line is still kind of working its way through finding out who's going to be the future players there. So I think they're still a year away from being serious competition.
Will you give me a Cincinnati record prediction?
I will say 7-10 now.
Yeah.
Game. Sure. I almost said 7-9.
That's not bad. I mean, a step forward. Hopefully,
it's a fairly large step forward for them over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that Thursday night Bengals game against the Steelers. If there was a non-Browns game that I had, that is it. What a beautiful thing that was.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. Bengals fans were torn between rooting for them to lose for a high pick to get Sewell, and then as the game was going, it was like, yeah, fuck it, let's win.
Hey, as a recovering 1-31, I know the struggle.
Yeah,
I know it. You're like, fuck, I want the number 1 pick, but fuck Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you got to win after a while, and it was just so with all the storylines going around it. Burrow was out with their backup at that point, and he was scrambling for long
he threw
runs.
for like 70 yards.
It was amazing.
All right, Vance, man, you've been great, man. We really appreciate your time. We'll get you out of here. And we'll move on to some Browns talk. But, man, keep in touch. We'll talk soon, all right?
Sure, yeah. I'll be glad to come on anytime, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thank you. Vance, if you want to tell everyone where to find you, go ahead.
You can follow me on Twitter @VanceMeek, and I'll be doing some Bengals writing and podcasting for the Around the Block Network, and you can go check it out there.
And like I said, I've always enjoyed your content, Vance. I'm a longtime follower, and I plan to continue. So if you don't follow Vance, you definitely should.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, man. Have a good night, buddy.
Yep, you do.
All right, man. That was great. That was great. I think we knocked it out of the park last week with some great Steelers guests, and I really think Vance was great. I mean, we ran a little bit long, but it was because it was good content, and I hope that you guys feel like you got a little bit better of an understanding of what Cincinnati thinks of Cincinnati.
Dude, I saw that the other day when I was watching that Joe Burrow had the most pass attempts for a rookie ever per game. That's insane.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, he had to be up there with Roethlisberger too, because there was points, especially when Mixon was down, that they just didn't care about that aspect.
Dude, you're just throwing. Thank God Andrew Berry improved the offensive line, because they just threw Burrow to the wolves, man. I feel bad, especially because he's an Ohio guy and all that stuff. And I'm sure, you, especially being from more where Burrow's from, and like I said, you have ties there. It's just I hope the Bengals. I do. At the Battle of Ohio, I would much rather the AFC North be between the Bengals and the Browns than the stupid Ravens and the stupid Steelers.
I agree. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't hate them nearly like I hate the Steelers or Ravens.
Agreed.
And the Steelers are on a whole new level over the Ravens, but it is what it is. All right, guys, we're going to transition to some Browns talk. We got a lot of spicy stuff on here, but I got something to say. I got something to say because I've been fighting with Mack stands for nearly 48 hours, and I'm tired. I made a post, and I don't know. You answer this question. Did I attack Mack Wilson with this post? And I don't know if you saw this one or not. They're talking, and More For You Cleveland was the post that I actually quote tweeted.
Okay.
And it was talk, and I actually am really worried this happens too, because with Tony Fields still not having seen the field, ironically, Quincy Carrier made that joke on his video this morning, and it cracked me up. He's like, Tony Fields hasn't seen the field. And I'm a dad. I'm not a dad, but I have a dad personality. There's a reasonable expectation that I think he could potentially end up on IR. Me and Andy were having a conversation about how IR works. If you have to put him on waivers, because I think somebody would probably snatch him up. I'm not sure. But let's say hypothetically you could put him on IR without having to worry about someone else snatching him from you. I made a post and I said, hey, here's 51's chance to shut me up. Can he rise to the challenge? That's it. That's all I said. And the Mack stands came. And DW, I know you're out there, buddy. I know you're out there, Dave. And I know you feel my pain. And I know you saw from afar and you watched. I know Dennis saw from afar. I know he watched. I know he laughed that it was somebody else other than him for 5 minutes. Before I really rant, do you feel like that was an attacking post on Mack Wilson?
No, I don't. I think you have to be realistic, right? And I think, we talked to Cameron Justice about this. We've talked to various other people about the Browns, and I don't think any of them, before the Tony Fields injury and before the way camp is shaken out, I don't think any of them have said to us, Mack Wilson is going to make the team.
Not until camp started. In no way.
Yeah. So if the pre-camp expectation is that this guy is a fringe roster player, right, then I think you're just being realistic.
Okay. Andrew says, it's not like you're Dennis. No, I'm not that bad. I love Dennis. He's great.
I may be tweeting about Mack Wilson tomorrow.
Don't you do it.
God,
Listen, I'm still getting hate for the tweet that was 2 days ago. I had to put out another tweet to clarify. And in that tweet, I said, I want Mack to succeed. If Mack succeeds, the Browns succeed. I love Mack. He was terrible, but if he's better, I will eat crow. And I got attacked for that. And I'm like, holy shit. So I got to say something about Mack Wilson. Somebody told me today, he said, it's not as bad as what you guys say on Twitter. Mack Wilson was solid.
Come on, man.
Mack Wilson, as a linebacker, what do you want your linebacker to do? You want him to make tackles.
Maybe.
Mack had 14 solo tackles in an entire fucking season. He graded as a 36. He was hot garbage. He was terrible. And he's great in camp. I was great in camp last year and 2 years ago. And then when it comes onto the field, he doesn't know what the hell's happening in front of him. I want Mack to make me come on this show like I did last year on my show, on my previous show, when I apologized to Chris Hubbard. Because Chris Hubbard stepped up after I talked shit about him. And I said, listen, man, Browns don't make the playoffs without Chris Hubbard. I think it gets really, really sketchy, especially early in the season. I mean, Jack Conklin missed game 2. Mm-hmm. And he was, as a sixth swing man, Chris Hubbard's great. I want that. I want that from Mack Wilson. Somebody told me, he gave us a fighting chance against Kansas City.
Come on, man.
He played 11 snaps. He played 16%. He played 11 of 68 possible snaps. Stop. He went to Alabama. He loves Cleveland. That doesn't translate to wins. That doesn't translate to shit. Stop acting like because you like the guy that he was okay. He wasn't even okay. He was not okay. I had a guy say, it's not as bad as you say it is, you motherfucker. And I just I simply sent him a screenshot of his 36th grade, and he literally said nothing. I have been asking for 2 days, what does Mack Wilson do well? Guess how many answers I have? I still am waiting.
So, and I will not, and I'm on the same page as you. So I feel your pain right now because you can't really say a whole lot good about Mack Wilson's previous play. But there are a lot of smart people right now saying Mack looks improved. So if your argument is he's helped us previously, that has no grounds. If your argument is he looks better now, okay. So I think I'm gonna talk about this tomorrow. I think I'm gonna dip into the Mack pool and say, and I think it's, you know what? I've resisted this for a long time, Jacob, but there's too many smart people right now saying that Mack Wilson is one of the standouts of camp.
Hey, and that's fine. Just show me you can process what's happening in front of you on Saturday, and then we'll have a conversation. Mack always looks good in workouts. There is nobody on, and if somebody tries to tell you that Mack doesn't work hard, they're full of shit, and they are truly haters. I'm not hating. And then people tried to tell me, at him, if you're going to. Stop kissing his ass.
Don't add players. Come on, don't. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Because you're a shit person. That's why you would do that. And then why are you adding Mack in a post where I'm stating facts? He was bad. And guess who will tell you Mack was bad? Mack.
Yeah.
He'll tell you he needs to be better.
I got something to say. I don't know if you had seen this. You probably have. But the Browns released their first unofficial depth chart.
Yeah.
Did you see?
I did.
And Mack is listed as the starting will linebacker over Malcolm Smith right now, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, which I know it's camp, I know it's August, but there's a lot to talk about here. If you want to jump in, I know we didn't play in this, but I just saw the depth chart. If you want to jump into this a little bit, because I'm just leaving my roster prediction because I never did anything about it, so I'm just leaving it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Mack Wilson has the back door open. Somebody said that Tony Fields has no bearing over Mack Wilson's roster slot, but seeing as they both are will linebackers, I think that really does.
I think, yeah.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know. For 2 days, I've dealt with this, and I'm in a little bit of a. I'm annoyed. I just started muting guys.
Oh man.
Stop. What do you think? Mack Wilson's going to give you a signed jersey because you tried to call me out for calling him out? Get lost. Seriously.
You know what? How can you look at his production so far and say anything but this guy is not contributing enough?
No.
There's no stat right now that says Mack Wilson has made a meaningful impact on the Browns. Just had their best season of our lifetime,
and he made 14 tackles.
So
by himself, 26 totals.
I mean, come on.
That's not even 2 tackles a game, guys. That's not 2 tackles a game, and he's a linebacker. I want Mack to be good. He is a very, very likable guy, and I don't know how many times I've said, again, I want Mack to be good. I want Mack to be good. Please let him be. This is the last thing I'm saying about Mack Wilson this week. I am muting people. I may block you, and I'm not responding to any more stuff about Mack Wilson. I'm done. I've said my piece. If you can't read, then get lost. Okay.
Just forewarning, I'm putting out a pro Mack Wilson tweet tomorrow, and I can't believe that my life has come to this. I can't.
Okay.
I told my group chat with Dennis that I told Dennis.
Oh no!
Oh God, it's gonna be a day. It's gonna be a fun day.
All right, guys. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I wanted to clarify that, I'm not hating on Mack. And if you think I'm hating on Mack for stating facts, then you're delusional, I guess is what I'm getting at. All right. So let's move on here. We've got all kinds of other things to discuss. We got the orange and brown scrimmage. You made a post that I don't know why everybody was. What you talked about? Hey, I think Baker Mayfield might take a discount.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh God, yeah.
That was interesting. And then all of a sudden, You would have thought that when you tweeted that you said that Nick Chubb sucked, like something ludicrous, like because I, and I'm not necessarily. What does a discount mean? Like Josh Allen got 43 million, so if you give Baker 40, that's a discount, in my opinion, because he didn't one up the last guy, so it's a discount. You didn't say Baker Mayfield's going to take 30 mil. You did not. You said, I think here's some things, and you really set off some people about that. So
people are taking my word like gospel, man. Like they're acting like I'm trying to reach in Baker's pocket and take money from the guy. Like I know nothing more than anyone else. I'm putting out a couple of breadcrumbs that lend me to believe that Baker may take a discount. And people, I've been at war. You know what? You've been at war, and for me, between the last couple of days, I've been at war on Twitter. And dude, I'm just trying to point out that
back. Why is everybody so pissed off?
Oh man, you know what? And lately, I've changed the energy up a little bit, and it's been better. But people were mad, man. They were hot, and people were saying that because I said I thought Baker Mayfield would take a discount, that I am influencing people to be angry with Baker if he doesn't.
Yes, yeah, that was the thing that you got the most.
Come on,
did I say that?
And so I had to clarify. I had to clarify too. I'm like, listen, if Baker doesn't take a discount, I'm not going to hold it against him. I simply think he will.
No, get your monay, man. Like nobody's gonna be mad at you for getting
fine, money. You know. But that doesn't. You're allowed to have an opinion, you know. Like people are arguing about this like they have Baker on the phone and they can just call him up, you know. Like
you see the shit that Nick tweeted yesterday.
What? Oh God, yeah, yes. Ooh, dude, we were.
No. I'm saying these people are calling Baker and they're asking them if he saw the shit that you tweeted.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? All right, dude. You know what? Let's move on from this. Let's talk about good stuff. Let's talk about real, tangible Cleveland Browns stuff.
Can I talk to you? Can I talk to you a little bit about this depth chart?
Yeah, you can, but I have a question for you first.
Oh, dude, ask.
I'm really confused about this.
Okay.
And I need your expertise. I need everybody in the comments, your expertise as well. So are Pop-Tarts a sandwich or a ravioli?
Wow. They're a ravioli.
They're a ravioli.
They're a ravioli.
You know, my wife said that a Pop-Tart is a Danish.
A Danish?
Yeah.
Wow. Is it a treat? Well, I guess it could be a treat.
Pop-Tarts are treats. They make ice cream sundae Pop-Tarts.
Oh, really?
Have you ever listen, people out there, I'm going to blow your minds. Take your ice cream sundae Pop-Tarts, put them in the freezer.
Oh, baby.
Telling you, do it. They are 100% a ravioli. Ravioli. 100%.
I'll tell you what, when I back
breakfast
in the day,
hot pocket. I like that. Extra crispy says they're a breakfast hot pocket.
Back in the day, I used to work at McDonald's, and one of the life hacks was instead of heating the pies up, especially those holiday custard pies, you just because they're in the freezer, right? So you take them and you break them open, and you eat them frozen. And I'm telling you, life hack.
Really?
They're amazing. It's like a pop. Well, I'm assuming it's like a Pop-Tart frozen. I never had a frozen Pop-Tart, but I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to catch up with some of these comments. They really. MC says that Nick enjoys pissing people off. I think he does. He chooses a lot of violence.
Okay. So in my defense, when I said Denzel Ward was the best corner in the AFC North, which started an entirely other war,
dude, I completely forgot about that.
I knew they were going to come for me. I knew that, and that's okay. But when I said I thought Baker was taking a discount, I had no intent of pissing anyone off. I literally just said, hey, look at these couple little points, and this is what I think.
I literally said, hey, I think Mack might make the roster. And everybody was like, fuck you. What? I'm sorry. internet just hates me. They hate both of us this week. You're gonna ask me about this depth chart. I need to tell you something.
Yeah.
Because this has to relate with this. I was listening to Jake Burns, who was at the Orange and Brown practice on Saturday. And he said something that I was curious about, but had not been able to confirm because nobody had directly said it. Michael Dunn was taking snaps as the second team center. Michael Dunn was taking snaps. Let me repeat that real quick for you guys. Michael Dunn was taking snaps as the second team center. I think some second team and third team. I'm not sure 100%.
You can't see me right now if you're listening to the podcast, but I'm pointing to my brain.
We talked about this, Nick.
Big brain.
I think we talked a lot about Blake Hance taking snaps, but we talked about Michael Dunn's versatility possibly being something that could happen. And I said, Nick Harris, I had him on the roster mainly because he's a draft pick of this regime, only in his second season. But I also said that he could be in danger because he only plays one position. As a guard, technically, if you are any kind of guard, you technically play two positions, right guard, left guard. Same with tackles. As a center, you can only back up one person. And I do not think Nick Harris has the size to play as a guard. We had this conversation. Neither of us agreed. He is a center, and we're not even 100% sure he can do that. Do I consider bagels donuts? Yes, sugar-free donuts. Anyway, you can get listen, you ever had a really awesome blueberry bagel? Donut. Anyway, just a side note on that one. Nick Harris, I don't even know. I can reasonably see Michael Dunn taking Nick Harris's spot if he is serviceable at center. He now provides far more versatility. You know what? I'm going to call it. And I think you'll second me. I'm going to call it today. I think Michael Dunn beats out Nick Harris. In the final.
I do too.
So I was really excited to find that note. I didn't tell you it. I wrote it down because I knew you would get super, super giddy. And we know for a fact that at the blue and orange practice on Sunday, he was taking those snaps. It is a reasonable thing, reasonable expectation. I think Nick Harris is in major trouble. What else? What do you got for me? Okay, I know you're at the bit. No. What do you got for me on the old depth chart?
I'm with you. To your point, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I'm just scanning this depth chart. I think it's amazing. I don't know how, and we still need to see this play out. But I think Blake Hance and Michael Dunn are both diamonds in the rough that they have just produced. I have no idea. And I just want to address real quick that Dan says that Jacob is over here making breakfast food soups and ravioli, and I'm here for it.
Did you guys? Hey, I can't believe it. Listen, I know Pete Smith gets a lot of hate because he doesn't like Jarvis's contract. He doesn't have a problem with Jarvis. He does not like the contract. I asked Jeff Lloyd to ask Pete Smith if cereal was soup on Locked On Browns, and he did it. And Pete Smith gave the greatest answer to any question I have ever heard. And Andy said it in our group chat. He did not miss a beat. He goes, he's like, Pete, Jacob wants to know, is cereal soup? And Pete just goes, yes, of course it is. And then he gave a detailed breakdown and analysis as to why cereal was soup, as if he was answering a Cleveland Browns question. And it was the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life, other than getting married.
I love it.
And it's side note. Andrew Berry will keep the best player. They don't care who drafted. I think that's true. I think 100%, because in the end, you didn't draft Michael Dunn, but you brought him in and then you realized what you had after. Listen, he made Cam Hayward one of the best defensive tackles in football irrelevant. And him and Blake Hance were practicing their sets in a parking lot. And you're telling me, and Bill Callahan, don't forget, Bill Callahan wasn't there for that game either. He was on the COVID list as well.
Okay.
Michael Dunn, big Michael Dunn guys here on this show.
Absolutely. Just a couple things at a glance because there's a lot to digest here. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit. Pulling it off from Cameron Justice. Thank you. Shout out to her. Guest of the show. Definitely should follow Cameron Justice. But okay, so here's a couple things. At left tackle, James Hudson is listed above Alex Taylor. At left,
makes sense.
I'm gonna shout a couple.
Shout them out and then tell me when you're ready for me to.
Yeah, let's go. Let's start offense. How do you say that? Okay, so at left tackle, James Hudson is listed above Alex Taylor. At left guard, Michael Dunn is listed ahead of Drew Forbes. Let's see. Okay. Nothing there. So I don't think there's any giant surprise here, but it's Odell Beckham, Rashard Higgins at one wide receiver, and Jarvis and Donovan Peoples-Jones at the other, which I'm really curious to see how that all goes. I guess we can't really take anything from that. But
because wide receiver sets, packages, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Another thing that I had taken from it. So at running back, Dearness Johnson is listed ahead of Demetric Felton, and Kevin Stefanski said they were trying to decide if Demetric Felton was going to be a running back or a wide receiver. Initial depth chart, he's listed as a running back, which I thought was interesting.
I think Dearness right now is a better runner. Yes.
Yeah. I could see that, and then I think that's it.
Can you tell me right guard?
Right guard. Wyatt Teller, Blake Hance, Colby Gossett, Cordell Iwagu. Sorry for your guys' names that I just butchered.
Okay. Thoughts on this? I think you keep Forbes and Michael Dunn.
Okay.
You need two guards. I love Drew Forbes. I've loved Drew Forbes for years. Anybody that's talked to me over the past couple of years knows my love affair for Drew Forbes. I thought Drew Forbes would beat out Wyatt Teller last year, but he's also got a year off, so I don't know. Forbes could be a friend. He's definitely a fringe guy. Forbes is like the 50th man on that roster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not at all surprised. I have James Hudson above Alex Taylor, but okay. If you keep Chris Hubbard, you keep just Hubbard and Hudson, I think you're fine if you don't move on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised by that depth chart. Is Michael Dunn, where is he actually listed as a center?
He's not listed as center. The third, so it's J.C. Treader, Nick Harris, and Javon Patterson.
Yeah. You got a bunch of linemen. I don't take a whole ton of I don't have a ton of stock in lineman depth on August 10th, for that sort of thing. Let me get over here real quick. We got a few questions popped up on here. Extra Chris, our boy Dan wants to know did we ever think any of us would be here now? No, absolutely not.
No.
Baker,
does he mean us personally or the Browns?
I think us as fans.
Oh,
but for both, no. Neither one. Baker gets one series. If I have anything to say with it, Baker doesn't play at all. I don't want to see outside of rookies. I don't want to see a starter this weekend. How much does Case play? Depends on if they bring in another arm, because I know they worked out some guys. If it's just Case and Kyle Lauletta, I would probably say a half a piece. You could see Kyle Lauletta somewhere in the first half, and then the second half.
Sure.
Johnson has worked hard. I really, really, really want to keep both of them. If I can keep 4 running backs, because Felton could be running back 4, wide receiver 6, or wide receiver 7, depending on how you do it. I've got to find a way to keep both of them if you can. All of it will change next week. Yeah, it probably will, because I think in the next week or two, we start with cuts. Teller is done after this season. I'm not sold. Teller seems like the odd man out. However, if you like a guy like Michael Dunn or a guy like Drew Forbes at either center or left guard, there's the money.
Yeah.
There's the money. I love JC. I love Joel. But if we get a Super Bowl for Joel this year, I would move on from Joel. I would move on. I love JC, but there's a lot of headache with having the union president. So
can we just mention for a second, if Baker, okay, so I did point out 2 legitimate points. John Johnson and Nick Chubb have both taken discounts. If Baker did take a discount, right? Say they, which who knows if they'll pay in this year.
40. Let's say 40 is the discount.
Sure. If he does take a discount, does that then send shockwaves through the rest of the team? Not shockwaves, but continue the momentum to get the rest of these guys to also take discounts.
And I think a lot of this has to do with what you call a discount.
Yeah.
John Johnson's the 5th highest paid safety. Nick Chubb's the 6th highest paid running back.
It's not like they're poor.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still top 10. It just depends. You saw it with a guy like Brady. Baker understands what he has and what happens if he gets paid. He deserves to get paid. He shouldn't be the 15th highest paid quarterback. And I'm not suggesting that, and I know you're not either. Baker deserves to get paid.
Yeah.
Could I see him settle for like for example, Josh Allen got 43. Could he go for 44, just get a little bit more instead? Because a lot of times you see like a guy get 43 and then someone gets 45. What if he takes exactly what Josh Allen takes? Like, I think Baker, in some way, shape, or form, Baker's going to get paid, but there's also going to be some team-friendly aspects to the contract. Like, I think maybe you put a ton of money into roster bonuses and performance bonuses,
sure,
so that it's not quite the cap hit. But no, I think it became evident with Nick Chubb, you paid your guys.
Yeah.
You pay Baker what he's worth. Don't insult him.
Yeah.
I don't think Andrew Berry will. I really, really love what Andrew Berry's done, especially with his contract situations. Do I think if Baker takes less, it continues a trend? Well, it would already be a trend.
Yeah.
It's already a trend. So yeah, no, I think, and it happened, I thought, with Tom Brady in New England, like, people saw that the best player and potentially the best player at that position of all time was like, hey, we need money to go around. I mean, look what happened with Jared Goff's situation. He got a ton of money, and then Carson Wentz. There's numerous examples of tons of money ruining roster building. But if AB keeps drafting like he did last year overall, and potentially this year, as well as some of these fines like Michael Dunn and Blake Hance, I think it doesn't really matter because you can find ways. I think he's a wizard. He's a smart dude, and smart dudes solve problems.
I know we're going a little long here. I just want to say a couple things that stick out. Tack is still listed.
We got a lot more going, dude. We got a lot more, so we're rolling through.
Tack is still listed as the second defensive end behind Myles Garrett. You like to see that. Damian Square is listed ahead of Malik McDowell. It's Malik Jackson, Jordan Elliott, Damian Square, Malik McDowell, and then Andrew Billings, Sheldon Day, Tommy Togiai, Marvin Wilson, which is interesting.
Yeah, I actually do have something on that. Continue, but I've got something on that room.
Okay. And then, so I've heard that Porter Gustin has been the de facto third defensive end with Tack out, so it doesn't surprise Jadeveon Clowney, Porter Gustin, Cameron Malvo. Okay. And then we talked about the Mack Wilson, Malcolm Smith, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And then Mike is still Anthony Walker, Jacob Phillips, Montrell Meander. Sione Takitaki listed as the starting Sam. And granted, someone in the chat said this is going to change by next week. I agree, but I think it's worth. There's the Browns. You can take little takeaways from this. Let's see. Okay, so then cornerback is Denzel Ward, Troy Hill, AJ Green. Not going to go beyond. A starter at the other corner right now is Greedy Williams, then Greg Newsome, then MJ Stewart. Strong safety Ronnie Harrison, Grant Delpit, Javante Moffitt, and then free safety John Johnson and Sheldrick Redwine listed ahead of Richard LeCount.
Yeah, that changes. Also, MJ Stewart got some snaps at safety, and I actually think that might be a pretty good idea. He's got enough speed and athleticism. I just don't think he reads and reacts very quickly to those quick out routes and the slants. He's got the athleticism, but I'm not sure he processes it fast enough to be a slot corner, especially. Things that I'm surprised about. I'm worried about Jordan Elliott. Quincy Carrier, again, he brought this up, and I've heard other people bring this up, and Sheldon Day is getting some first team reps.
Wow.
Tommy Togiai is looking the part. Marvin Wilson is looking the part. Andrew Billings is a monster. Exactly what we needed last year, and I'm so thankful he's back this year. Could the Browns move on from the 3rd round pick of a year ago in Jordan Elliott, who was underwhelming? I think we got it. We got it in the comments earlier. I think if they come down to it, I think they keep. I've said all along they kept. I think it's 5 D tackles.
Okay.
If you keep the 5 that I projected, you have one guy that has reasonable experience. Could the savvy veteran Damian Square beat out Jordan Elliott?
I mean,
that gives you 2 guys. I mean, he's not Aaron Donald, but like he's a solid player. Let me pull up here. I'll pull it up just to verify what Damian Square's grades were a year ago.
That's just. I mean, like, obviously,
64.
Elliott's young and full of potential and all of that. But you know what? You're trying to win a Super Bowl. So if one guy gives you a dramatically better – because this defensive tackle room has so many question marks, as we've talked about, forever. So, I mean, I don't know. If he's dramatically better, then fine. I'm not going to – who am I?
And it could be Malik McDowell. Like, it doesn't have to be Damian Square, but my point is, could Andrew Berry move on from a day 2 pick and just say, I don't think Andrew Berry is concerned with admitting he's wrong. Like, I mean, hey, I was wrong, but I did find Marvin Wilson. Like, maybe that becomes the trade-off, that Marvin Wilson takes Jordan Elliott's spot.
Kevin Stefanski said today that it's an oblique, although I saw the oblique change to ribs, I think, for Malik McDowell.
Yeah, it was a correction. It is a rib injury. That's Cammie Justice put out the clarification on that a little while ago. Yeah.
But the way he said we're going to be smart about it when they were talking about bringing him back, I just felt like that could mean nothing. I mean, he could say that about any player, I guess. But just the way he said it to me kind of gave me the impression that they think something of him. I mean, that could be totally wrong. That's just my own impression from listening to the way he said it. I love listening to these press conferences because I think you learn a lot just from hearing the way they say certain things, and just the way he referenced McDowell sounded like that he's at least that he's. I don't think that they would say stuff about that like if he just was whoever. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it was point. Everything I think Kevin Stefanski says is calculated.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, I think there's a lot of calculation in everything that he says. Ed says that Malik McDowell will either win the job or eat the guy who beats him out. That dude, like I said, we've said it a million times, but like you cannot look at a field that contains Malik McDowell and wonder where he's at. Like the dude is just an absolute monster. We're going to get into a lot more of preseason talk and first and second year guys on our special show, our special preseason preview show that will be coming out later this week. It will appear either Thursday or Friday night. It'll go live on the Patreon 2 days later. It will appear on our YouTube channel. It'll be a YouTube exclusive. It will not be live. We will be recording with our special guest Stephen Thomas of the OBR at Brown's Daily Mock Draft. He will be joining us to break down all these things. He's told me lots of fart jokes and dad jokes. Super excited. I am preparing my best dad joke for a dad joke off.
I'm so ready.
I'm going to put him on the spot for his best dad joke against my best dad joke. And then I'm going to post a poll and y'all can tell me who had the best dad joke. And
Can't wait.
none of you care, I guarantee it.
You know what? And let me say a little bit about this because I told myself in the middle of the show I was going to talk about, you know, all of our stuff and everyone who supported us, but I have failed to this point. So we're an hour and 5 minutes in. Let me say a couple of things here.
Yeah.
The Patreon. So we appreciate all of your support, and so obviously with the Patreon, you know, that does come with the $5 a month cost, but we are trying to bring you all kinds of additional content and giveaways and stuff like that makes it worth your subscription. So if you feel like that's something that you'd be interested in, I can't wait. Jacob and I spend way too much time on Twitter in the first place. We're going to have a group chat. We're going to talk all the time. It's going to be super fun, and I can't wait for that. And so we already, but by the way, well, I guess I don't want to get off. So with Patreon, we're going to do a cool newsletter. Like Jacob said, Jacob's got all kinds of good stuff to bring. You're going to get little updates, little snippets, all the little teasers we have. You're going to know what's coming. We're going to eventually, Jacob and I have talked about eventually having merch here. That's something that we'd like, but regardless of when we get merch, we've been giving away. So for our first YouTube subscriber tier, we gave away a shirt. I think until we have our own, I would assume that we'll continue to give away GV artwork stuff.
Some local Cleveland business. Yes.
Some local Cleveland business. So we're going to do that. But we would love feedback too as to how to make this worth it. I
got to put Ed's. I'm sorry. I don't.
No.
But Ed got me. He got me. Ed always gets me at least once an episode. He says, "You got my money. $5 is a Little Caesars pizza. Barking Browns is better than that."
Well, thank you, Ed.
I smashed many a Little Caesars pizza when I was broke in college.
And I just want to say, so our last episode on YouTube and podcast did really well. So thank you to everyone who watched. Our subscribers on YouTube are still climbing. So we are within 75 now of our next GV artwork shirt giveaway. So please, if you want to hit that subscribe button, you will be entered. You'll be one of the 225 that are entered. Not too bad of odds. We appreciate all the likes, comments, subscribe. So Jacob and I will both respond. Normally we do. We love reading your 5-star review on the podcasts. All of that stuff means the world to us. So as you support us, we will continue to shout you out. And you know what? It's incredibly humbling to see our views and just our base continue to grow. So thank you to everyone who has done that. And Dan asked if we thought we'd be here. I know he was probably talking about the Browns, but I never thought we'd get to this point. And Jacob and I talk all the time. We can't wait to see, what we can do, because we love doing this. And the more support that we can get, the more we can bring to you. We both want to bring you so much more than we are right now.
And we're working towards it. We're thinking about everything we can. We had a couple of other ideas that I think we're just not quite ready for.
Yeah.
In terms of the special episodes, that's not like going to be a planned thing. Maybe one or two a month when we have the time and the prospects. Maybe that's where we do our Nostradamus episode. Maybe we do something like that. The way we're going to do those, like I said, is it'll go up on Patreon for 48 hours before it hits our YouTube. There'll be YouTube exclusives. It won't be on Twitter. It will be in podcast form, probably. I'll probably put it in podcast form as well, but it will be video wise. It'll be a YouTube exclusive thing. Dan says, if you're going to be hosed, you ask for tips, and he's right. So here we are. We're asking for our tips. We are the football hose. And I'm going to apologize because I got very heated and passionate and said lots of F words at the beginning of the show. So if you're hanging around and you're like, man, Jacob's not really this bad. I'm not this bad normally. But I don't hate Mac. And there's some people that just hate on Mack Wilson and they want to hate on Mack Wilson. I don't want to hate on Mack Wilson. I don't. But stop acting like he's not bad. He wasn't bad. That doesn't mean he can't be good.
Yeah. We just need a subscriber on YouTube.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have to check who it is, but would love to shout you out.
If you join, Dan says to stay off the pool table, Nick. Nick, eventually you're gonna have to tell on this. Do you want to do it? Do you want to tell the pool table?
Not particularly.
Not this week.
That's just. I've had enough violence. No more violence.
There's a story. I will get Nick to say it on the show eventually. Don't worry. I left, by the way. I was not there. I can't
wait to hang out more. Jacob is cool. Jacob is as cool in real life if at not cooler than he is online.
I appreciate that. That's very, very kind. Nick is even nicer in person, I promise. Like whatever you think you know about Nick, he is even better than that. And he will absolutely. Nick said this to me, and he was a little buzzed, perhaps. He said, "You will never go anywhere I can't find a friend." And I think that's very telling of the enormous heart that man has. I would not be able to do this without him. And that's not just because he's handsome. But him being handsome is part of it.
Well, thank you.
I also try sometimes, if people don't know this, but I like to get Nick a little worked up sometimes. 100%, that's 100% the truth. I totally think all of that stuff about Nick. But I also try to see if I can make Evita audibly laugh on the podcast. I haven't done it yet. I've heard her laugh when we're not recording or we're not live, but I'm trying, and I don't even know if she's there. She's not there, is she?
She's flying to Virginia tomorrow, so she's snoozing right now.
Okay.
I'm taking her to the airport at 3 a.m.
But I do. I try to, and I think she knows it sometimes. She knows that I'm trying to mess with her. She's great. She is. She's
a Jacob fan.
I appreciate that. All right, Nick. Do we got anything else? I got maybe one more thing for you before we get out of here. If Tack doesn't come back, do you add somebody?
Yeah.
I'm not saying how you do it. I like the idea of potentially swapping offensive line depth for edge depth, because you're going to have to cut a guy like Blake Hance, a guy like Alex Taylor, a guy like Nick Harris. Like you're going to have to cut one of these guys probably, so you can potentially swap them. So I'm not asking you specifically what we do to solve it, but if Tack doesn't come back, are you comfortable with just Curtis Weaver and Porter Gustin, or do you want to add somebody?
All right, I know I didn't even let you let you get through that, but we already saw the Curtis Weaver. Well, no, we didn't see Curtis Weaver. We already saw the Porter Gustin show, and no knock on him. I think he can improve too. But when it literally, that was just the Myles Garrett sack someone or bust, and I don't want to go back down that road. I don't at all.
100%. 100%. I'm on board with it. And you know I'm a big Tack guy. Everybody who watches this show knows I'm a big Tack guy. And first and foremost, I hate to have this conversation because I don't want to think I'm like, well, I'm in no way saying like, screw you, Tack. No. Tack, get your mind and body right. Tack, take care of Tack, and football can come later. I'm just saying if Tack needs time to take care of himself, I do the swap. Dan weighs in, says do the swap. I think you try to find a suitor for an offensive lineman. If Drew Forbes hasn't played, but he has all this raw talent, all this raw ability. Maybe you call somebody up and say, I got Drew Forbes. You got an edge rusher that you're going to cut? Like, we're going to cut Drew Forbes. Do you got an edge rusher you're going to cut? And then instead of having to try to claim guys on waivers and risk him going to somewhere else, you just say, hey, here's an edge rusher that had 4 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Or here's a rookie that I took in the 6th round that's an edge rusher that has some talent, had 5 sacks in college his senior year. Something like that. You swap it. I think Tack was somewhere between 6 to 8. So if you can potentially get 4 or 5, you're still going to have a drop off, and you're going to need more from Curtis Weaver and Porter Gustin than previously expected. But I think you can live with that.
Andrew Berry's prioritized the line since he got here, thankfully. And so I would be very surprised to see him roll into camp or roll into the season with the defensive ends as is if Tack's not there. Okay.
That's it. That explains it to me. Another quick shout out and a thank you to our guest, Vance Meek, who helped us preview the Cincinnati Bengals at the beginning of this show. It was a lot of fun, very insightful. He knows his stuff. If you like the Bengals or if you just like football, I follow a few people of other teams just because I like the outside perspective. I listen to the Around the NFL podcast as well, to try to get some outside perspectives. But thank you to Vance, and thank you guys for listening. Nick, see us out.
You know what? Thanks. I'm never gonna be able to look at a Pop-Tart the same.
It's a ravioli.
It is a ravioli. So thank you for that, Jacob. Yes, Dan, that was the 100th message of our live stream. So thank you. I love hitting that mark. Thank you for all of your messages there, and to everyone who participated in the chat. Thank you. This has been episode 16.
Andrew Hawkins.
Wow. Of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. And we thank you all for being here. And as always, go Brown.